Hello there. Welcome to my channel, Snips by Kelly. I'm Kelly, and tonight we have a special layout, a feature layout featuring my daughter, Emily. She is my only daughter, and these are photos taken of us last summer at a camping trip, and we took advantage and took some family photos in the beautiful scenery. We're going to be using the Everyday You and Me Scrapbooking Workshop Kit that originally creates 6 layouts, but we're going to do something different with it today. It has those great craft die cut punch outs, two 12 by 12 sheets. One is a sticker sheet, one is a punch out sheet. And what I love about these is that there are small, medium, and large icons, small, medium, and large words, small, medium, and large shapes. It's a scrapbooker's dream for clustering and having lots of title opportunities. It also includes some coordinating cardstock, so 6 two-tone cardstocks that are double-sided and white core, an additional punch out here that is an overlay, which I love, 2 additional pattern papers, 2 each of 2 patterns that are specialty pattern papers only included in the workshop kit. You won't find these patterns in any of the other paper packs. And then we have a standard scrapbooking workshop, 6 sheets, 2 each of double-sided patterns, and they're so beautiful. I love the color combinations. So we're going to be creating a negative layered circle layout, and don't be intimidated. It's not going to be hard. It's going to have some layering on it, but we need actually 4 negative circles. So what I mean by negative circles is we're going to cut a circle out of the center of each of 4 sheets, and we're going to be using the negative space, not the circle itself, but the negative space around the circle, and then a circle on the bottom, so that we have 4 circle layers that we can decorate, and it's going to be so fun. So I'm just going to organize my sheets, my papers, so that I know which negative circles that I want. So I kind of feel like the photos of Emily and I should be on a more, neutral pattern. So maybe this one-sided pattern, or maybe the other, wild wheat pattern is what I'm thinking. So maybe between those two, and then let's do something a little more bright and bold. So maybe the gingham, and then maybe the stripe that pulls in the wild wheat. And then I think maybe on top, we could finish with that gorgeous ombre. So it's soft on the top. And then maybe the background pattern, we could do another pattern, a busier pattern. Now, I'm going to show you really quickly on the Cricut how I did this, but this design space file will be linked in the description, and it will be free. You can just download it, and these base negative circles will already be done for you. In the simplest form, what we're going to do is we're creating 4 squares and 4 circles. We're going to create a 9-inch square, a 9 3/4 inch square, a 10.5-inch square, and an 11.5-inch square. And I've put those in order. We're going to change the colors of those just so we don't get mixed up. And when we get ready to cut our papers, if they're in a different order on the mats, we know which colors to cut our pattern papers. Then we're going to create 4 circles. The circles are going to match up with each of the squares. So on the 9 by 9-inch square, we're going to have an 8-inch circle. On the 9 3/4 inch square, we're going to have a 9-inch circle. On the 10.5-inch square, we're going to have a 9 3/4 inch circle. And on the 11.5-inch square, we're going to have a 10.5-inch circle. Now, why aren't they apples to apples, like 9-inch square, 8-inch circle, so on and so forth? It's because we want those negative circle pieces to vary slightly. Some of them to be a little bit thinner in the background, and some of them to be a little bit wider. And so then we're going to select each square and circle separately, and we're going to center it. We're going to hit the align button, and we're going to align it. So you can just click the center button. I like to center vertical and horizontal. I don't know why, it's just a weird tick that I have, but you can just center the whole thing. And then you're going to go back and select both the circle and the square, each one separately, and slice the circle out. So we're going to delete the circles themselves, and we're just going to be using the negative space. Of course, when you go to cut it, it's going to cut the circles out, so you're going to have 4 circles. You can use one of those circles for your background, and then you can use the other 3 circles for other fun circle layouts. Circle layouts are really, I love them. I create a lot of circle layouts because I think it adds like such an added element, and it's something just a little bit different that isn't boxy. So now you can see when you layer those on top of each other, you have all of the foundation that you need for a negative layered circle layout. Again, I will link that free Design Space file. Just click the more button, and in the description, you'll see it. So now I'm going to arrange my negative circle pieces, just kind of see how this is going to look and what order I want them in. So of course, it has to go largest on top to smallest on the bottom, but I can change my background piece and I can change that center circle piece. And I kind of decide that the bolder pattern is too much. It's a little bit too bold. So I think I'm going to go with the wild wheat softer pattern. I think I'm going to love that. Now, the patterns together right now might look a little bit busy on the edges, but we're going to foam tape in between all of the layers, because the whole point of a negative layered circle layout is that you can build elements in between the layers and make sort of an inverted, embellishing set. So you're going to embellish more toward the inner part of the circle. You'll have a few embellishments that will come out on the outer part of the circle, but the whole idea is that you have this gorgeous layered circle that funnels down. Now, I began seeing these types of layouts probably around 2015. And I think where it came from, and I'm not sure, there's probably veteran scrappers out there that have scrapped even longer than me. I've scrapped for over 25 years, but I didn't start close to my heart until 2015, and I didn't start Stampin' Up! Until last year. So as you can see here, I've opted to get rid of the wild wheat, and I've decided that I'm going to use one of the negative circles in the background. I'm going back and forth, and it's hard to decide. Both of them would be beautiful, but I go with the bluer background, and I do love that. But I would say that this probably came from a card. So I'm sure someone punched circles out of card bases and then said, hey, I don't want to throw away my negative piece. I want to use my negative piece. So you see, if you type negative layered circle card or negative circle card, you will see all kinds of cards where they've taken the negative space, layered that on a card, and did some kind of a focal element in the center. And it's genius. I absolutely love it. I haven't seen this kind of a layout in a long, long time, but it definitely was popular, like I said, probably 10 years ago. So what I'm doing here is I'm adding my foam tape to the back of the first layer. But of course, I realize I haven't done any inking, and this is going to be so gorgeous with a little bit of pecan pie ink all the way around each of the circles. So we're literally going to end up inking with pecan pie. We're going to ink all of our embellishments that we're using today. We're going to ink all of our stickers that we're using today, and we're going to ink all of the edges of the circle. So I periodically stop in the video and fast forward the video and get all of the inking in place. Now, I'm using dimensionals just because that's what I have, but I used to use big rolls of foam tape so that I could just simply roll larger strips and not have to peel off all of the dimensionals. The dimensionals work fine, but honestly, I would probably double pop this. I did not for the sake of the video. And I know that there are people out there that are not foam tape people. They like everything flush, but I'm going to show you here in just a little bit how this fits perfectly in our expandable page protectors. So our page protectors have so much give in them that you can actually get by with a lot of dimension. Now, some people don't like their albums to fill up faster, or they don't like the thickness in their albums. I don't mind it one bit. I love the dimension. And so I use lots. I'm a foam tape girl. Let me know in the comments if you're a foam tape girl. I am absolutely a dimension and a foam tape girl. So now you can see that I've gone through each of the layers, and I am actually going to run my fingers along those. I really want it to be defined and popped up. I don't want it to look just all flush next to each other. That also helps the pattern a little bit. The inking on the edge of the circles, as well as the foam tape between the levels, it just gives this great 3D look when you look from the top down as the layers of the circles are coming out. And when you see those gorgeous patterns next to each other, I actually just could sit and stare at the base of this. It's so beautiful. And people will look at a layout like this, and I did too, 10, 12 years ago when I was just really doing mostly basic scrapping. And I would look at a layout like this and say, well, that's not something I could do. But look how easy that was. You simply need a method to cut a circle out of a background. That's all you need. So if you have an old round, creative memories circle cutter, remember those plastic dies that we had, and we had little round blades. If you still have yours, that cuts out circles. You could cut your circles on a Cricut, whatever method you have of cutting a circle. So now that my main base is together, I want to decide on my background. So I'm shopping my papers. I'm looking at the pecan pie. I'm looking at Lost Lagoon. I'm looking at pattern papers. I'm looking at the gray. I really don't want it to just blend in. I typically would do a solid or a really busy on the background of something like this, but I end up absolutely loving the checkered pattern or the gingham pattern. But of course, I gutted that. I'm not going to waste all that. This already does take quite a bit of pattern paper. You need 4 pattern paper sheets that you're going to be using. But in a regular paper pack, and it's called Everyday Happiness, it's the single paper pack that actually matches this workshop kit. Has 12 sheets of pattern paper in it for each of each design. So I just grabbed up an extra pattern paper pack, especially now because these are on last chance. I don't know why they're on last chance already. It's actually my May featured collection. You can see here that I just showed you our page protectors and how much extra space you have, even with all of that foam tape in there, to fit into the page protector. So now I have my junk gypsy tray out, and I've sorted everything out. And I know you're probably thinking, why did you sort all that out for one layout? But it makes me feel together. It helps me to shop my own ingredients. So I put like all of the, etched leaves in one, the solid leaves in one, the green leaves in one, the circles in one. I cut apart my stickers and I put all the words in one section. And it just really helps my brain. I can really shop easily and embellish easily when I've organized it. So whatever you do, however you organize your embellishments, it's really nice to have them organized in front of you. So now I am working with my photos. They were originally 4x6 photos, and there was a lot of tree tops in the top. So I cut 3/4 of an inch off of each of one. And so the final size is 4x5 3/4 or 5 1/4. And then I'm going to back it with an 1/8 inch white. And now I'm just kind of shopping my colors, like what's going to pop on the interior. I'm going to layer these photos and tuck them underneath the layered circles. Like maybe one will be flushed and then one will be tucked on an upper layer so that they toggle. And I end up going with the Lost Lagoon. It's really bold, and I think that bold in the background is going to be great. Now the decision is, do I want to toggle it or do I want to have it even? And I end up toggling it a little bit. On the right photo, I have the photo, the final answer is I have the Lost Lagoon toggled to the left. Is that Lost Lagoon or is that Pretty Peacock? I think that's the Pretty Peacock. And then I'll list it in the description for sure, what I used. And then, yeah, Lost Lagoon is a little softer. So sorry about that. So I'm toggling each of those toward the left. And I end up loving that little play. Sometimes just a little bit of an offset of paper really, really helps. And then I'm going to tuck the front closer up photo of Emily and I'm going to tuck in the front. And then the farther away photo of Emily and I'm going to have more flush in the back, but still tucked under. And a little bit of the space in the background is going to show, but we're going to embellish around it a little bit and cover up some of that. But I want a little bit of that to show both on the bottom and the top, the Peacock cardstock. I want both of those to show. But as I was saying, if you are, no, I completely lost my train of thought. I was talking about the papers, grabbing up, or the foam tape. I'm such an old lady. I can't remember what I was talking about. I think I was talking about the junk gypsy tray. I get asked a lot about the junk gypsy tray. So that is actually, I have an original and I have a knockoff. So right now I'm shopping my titles. So kind of trying to shop my larger pieces first to figure out what larger pieces I'm going to be using in this. I really love this tab. I have the backs on them still. I kind of like the idea of the tag dangling and then, kind of trying to fit, which title is going to look right. I don't want it to be too chunky. I want it to be delicate. So my junk gypsy tray is a galvanized chicken feeder. And it was something that I found on the farm or the ranch. And I've used it ever since. But Hobby Lobby, and there's probably other places, I'm not affiliated with Hobby Lobby, but Hobby Lobby has a knockoff. And it's almost identical. I mean, and I don't know if they make theirs or if they found theirs, but there's just some slight differences on the bottom where you can tell which one the original is, because I think they maybe put rubber pegs or something on theirs, and mine doesn't have anything like that because mine is just galvanized metal. And so if you like that, I love it because it has a handle. You can stick things in the handle. I love all the compartments. I can just set it up there. It has enough compartments that I don't have a bunch of little trays around me, that I just need my brain to be together. And I'm scattered naturally, and it really helps hold me together. So whatever method you have, and if you have a great way of organizing your bits, post that in the comments. I would love to hear what other people use, but this has always served me well. So now you can see that I am cutting apart some of these really large leaves. I need the green. I love the green. But they're just a little bit too chunky and big. And normally I'm just thrilled with that big, but they're just a little bit too big. So I'm using a lot of the craft die cuts. I'm making sure that I am sort of clustering to the inside. This one, this lower left cluster and the upper right cluster will both have a couple bits that will be on the outside barely, but I really want all the embellishments to go toward the center. The whole purpose of this is to just draw your eyes into the center of the negative layered circles and then the focal elements in there. So basically I'm shopping. You can just watch me shop all of those elements that we've already put into the junk gypsy tray. And I'm trying to create simple clusters that also have a little bit of height. So like that longer floral, I want to come up and around so that I can curve it. I've got a couple little spots because I didn't use foam tape and I used the dimensionals that are dipping down a little. So I'm going to have to put a couple dimensionals in. I want to find something that the Our Happy Place can dangle off of. And I'm thinking that one of these longer florals is going to work great. I'm going to take it back out. I'm going to dirty up the edges with the pecan pie. Then I'll put it back in and I'll find a way to hook it underneath one of the negative circles so that it just dangles into the layout. I love that. So basically I'm curving things, I'm inking things, and I'm really being scientific around it. I'm just simply using a pencil. I'm cutting as many of the embellishments in half as I can so that I can stretch those embellishments. I'm going to be using a lot of embellishments on this, and that's why I did purchase the extra paper. It was hard because the Everyday Happiness pattern paper had 12 sheets, 4 sheets each of these same patterns. There's only 6 sheets in the workshop kit, and but then you get extra specialty papers in the workshop kit. So I wanted the extra specialty papers. I wanted the extra 12 sheets of pattern paper because I love this pattern paper, but the die cuts, those beautiful craft die cuts, are only in the workshop kit. And I was like, oh, I want those die cuts separately so that I could use those with the pattern paper. And I actually probably would have bought 3 or 4 sets of those die cuts if they were sold separately, because those are great bits. If you ever see sets with craft die cuts, you're going to want to grab them up because it makes your embellishing so easy. Now you could do a layout like this and use your stamps and dies. And I would totally do that as well. You know, if I needed all these bits, or if I wasn't going to make this a special feature layout of my daughter, I was trying to stretch it and I wasn't being greedy and using up all the pieces on one layout, I would definitely use stamps and dies, because then you can create all your bits out of stamps and dies and still have stickers and punch outs and craft pieces. So I'm curving those florals, I'm cutting those florals in half, I'm just playing. I'm just layering. So about my daughter, I don't do a lot of layouts about my daughter anymore. You know why? Because when you grow up and you have children of your own, it becomes about the children, right? Like I'm all about the grands. So I have 3 grown children and 8 grands, and she is my only daughter, Emily. And I know that everyone is biased about their own children, but she is incredible. She blows me away with everything she does. She's an incredible mom. She's a full-time nurse. She's a farm wife. She is incredible, and she makes life so special for her 3 daughters. So my daughter ended up with 3 daughters. My youngest son ended up with an only child, a son, and then the oldest son has a combination. So he has 1 son and 3 daughters. And so we have quite the combination, only 2 boys. So we're kind of heavy on the girls, but my daughter is amazing and she does so much for everyone, and she's incredibly intelligent and kind. And I love that I have this grown-up photo of us together. So we were on our annual camping trip. We go camping and we go boating every summer, and we were on our annual camping trip, and we just were like, let's get some family photos in the trees and it with the beautiful greenery around. And oh my goodness, I'm so glad that I did. Some of you who follow my channel know that we had a fiasco. Our oldest son and his family didn't make it in time for the photos, and neither did my husband. But I am so happy we went forward and got some special photos of all the family that was there, because there's not that many opportunities. You all know how hard it is to get those photos. So I love that this is her. I'm thinking, I always have to count. Isn't that terrible? But I'm thinking she's 35. I always have to go back to the day they were born and calculate it like I've turned into my grandma. But, or I'll go through like all the kids' names to get to the right kid. Things that used to make you laugh so much about your parents and your grandparents, and then you find yourself doing that now. So again, as you can see, I'm having fun. I love this. So a feature layout like this is totally my jam. It's totally my style. It is not functional scrapbooking in terms of doing this for every single layout. So I love to do a combination of simple scrapping and elevated scrapping. I will also do pocket page scrapbooking. So I've taken a sticker here, I've cut it in half, I've notched it or dovetailed it by snipping up about 1/4 of an inch and then snipping it in on either side. side. And it doesn't matter, you all, like these elements, totally choose elements that just, you have a large, a medium, and a small, usually in a cluster. You have some longer pieces, whether they be leaves or whether they're craft pieces that are sticking out on either side or upward to give you some height, to give you some length. So you want it so that it's layered and it's not just chunked in one spot. So really, there is no rhyme or reason. There is no right or wrong. I just keep playing with it until it looks almost like a floral arrangement. If you think about a floral arrangement, it has a base piece and then sprigs and pieces that are sticking up and out so that it makes it look full. So whatever you need to do with those bits to make it look more full and connected, I usually try to make sure all the pieces are touching in some way. So you can have circles, you can have a little squares, you can have little tags, you can have little dovetailed pieces, you can have florals, you can have leaves. It really doesn't matter what per se is in the cluster. It's all about it's touching a little bit. It has some small, medium, and large. It has some longer elements to give you height and length. And once you start learning that there's no right or wrong to a cluster, you'll be braver about just playing around. A lot of people will say, well, I don't know how to cluster. Honestly, I don't know how to cluster either, but I do it. It's just, you're going to start laying things around. I do often start when I'm doing clusters on pages with a crisscross element. So I might start like I did today. I started with the lower left and then I went to the upper right, even though I knew that I was going to do clusters in other places, because the negative layered circle is all about bits all over in the middle of the circle. But it helped me for balance to start opposite. So sometimes you can do a triangle, like a visual triangle. So you can go to the lower left and to the upper right, and then maybe one other spot. So my larger cluster here is turning out to be on the right, not all the way lower, but a little bit up higher. So you have a triangle that draws your eye over over the photos. If you have journaling in there that's special, you want to draw, whatever you want to draw attention to is what you create the triangle around. And it doesn't have to be a literal triangle. It's just creating elements so your eye draws across whatever it is you want to draw across. So now I've cut apart sticker elements and I've dovetailed them. One of them was already dovetailed, and I'm going to add a little circle element to that to just have a little something something in the upper right. I'm also going to journal just a little bit on the Loving This sticker. And I just chose to say that she may have outgrown my lap, but she will never outgrow my heart. So I've titled my thumbnail in this, Scrapbooking the Language of Love. And one of the reasons that I did that is because it's expression. So my mother, God rest her soul, she was sick for most of my adult life and passed. But in my impressionable years, my mother expressed herself. It wasn't easy for her to express mushy things, but she expressed herself through artwork and through gifts. She did latch hook, macrame, oil painting, pottery was popular back then. She, did crocheting. She expressed herself through art and through the gift of giving that art. And I have always felt that scrapbooking is a love language. I say mushy things in my journaling, and my husband always says, oh my goodness, you say more in your journaling and in your pages and in your titles about the subjects than you are able to do out loud. And I think that it's wonderful that scrapbooking can be a love language. You can release all of those feelings into your scrapbooks. And I do feel that this tribute to my only daughter, Emily, whom I love with all my heart, even though I know she thinks that her children have replaced her because I love them so. She is my love, and she will never outgrow my heart. So I've added some of our brand new pressed flower motif dots to that. Those will be coming out in May, just a few, and I hope you love it. I hope you'll give me a thumbs up. I hope you'll hit like and subscribe. I hope you'll grab that free Design Space file and create a negative layered circle layout yourself. And I hope you'll find me on social media and post it and share it with me so I can see how your beautiful language of love layout turned out. Won't you please hit share, like, subscribe, shoot me a comment, and come back soon for more right here on Snips by Kelly. Bye-bye.